Hello and welcome to Discovery Church and to our special monthly online service. It's so good to have you here with us. If you're connecting with Discovery Church for the very first time, we want to give you a really special welcome and hope you'll enjoy the service with us today. Now, our theme today is peace. I wonder what you think peace is. I mean, for some people, peace is just the absence of conflict. So we might say that we live in peacetime at the moment because we're not kind of openly at war with another nation. I mean, over the last year, people have talked about COVID being the worst thing to hit during peacetime. But of course, every day, millions of people around our world are living in the midst of conflict and fighting, and our news cycles are dominated by those things so often. As if you need reminding, this is what has happened around our world just in the last few weeks. And of course, it's not so long ago that our own nation was plunged into war on our own shores during World War II. And even in peacetime, localised conflict can erupt at any moment, like some of the stuff we saw on the streets of Bristol and other places earlier this year. Conflict is never really far away in our world. So peace can't just be about not being at war or not being in the middle of a riot. Because I think for most of us, even if our lives look peaceful, we're still somehow searching for peace. We may not be sure what it looks like or how to find it, but we know that we don't have it. Here are some short interviews where people on the street have been asked about peace. This has been filmed in America, but I wonder whether people in Penzance might give the same kind of answers. You decide whether you think they would or not, or whether you think that you would give some of these answers as well.
Would you consider your life peaceful right now?
No, not at all.
Could you say that your life is peaceful?
In today's age, I think it's very difficult for anyone to find peace.
Would you consider your life peaceful?
No. The job is really stressful, so overall no, but I try to do what I can to get by, so.
Where do you find peace?
Where do I find peace? In the trees.
How so?
Those are living, breathing, eating creatures. I think they're awesome.
Okay. Where does peace come from?
Well, to some degree internal, realizing that we have all the same powers and amazing entities that trees and nature has.
Tell me 3 things that worry you.
When the world is gonna end, what I'm gonna be doing in the next few years, who I might marry, I think that worries me.
Okay. Where does peace come from?
Inside, I think. For me, the ocean, because it's a place that I connect with myself, just in how big it is and how, permanent.
Where does peace come from?
Peace comes from being totally happy with yourself and your decisions. You can't totally be happy if you have questions in your mind, and that's where I think total peace comes from.
Where does peace come from?
Within, in the heart, from love, from friends and family members. Basically, that's where I find peace.
Would you consider your life peaceful right now?
No, because there's too much killing and violence and stuff going around. I mean, you couldn't even like back in the old days, you can leave your door open and people wouldn't say too much, and then people kidnapping and stuff. So I don't think it's peace.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Name 3 things that worry you.
I'd have to say also STDs, flunking out of school, and going to heaven.
Going to heaven worries you?
Well, what worries me is not going there.
So where do you find peace?
At home, on my couch, watching sports, baseball, football, that sort of stuff.
Where does peace come from?
Peace comes from relaxation, friends, family.
Would you consider your life peaceful right now?
Very. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, you too. Where does peace come from?
It comes from inside.
Where do you think peace comes from?
Within.
Where does peace come from?
I think you have to make your own peace.
Where does peace come from?
Inside, I think.
Where does peace come from?
Within.
Where do you think peace comes from?
Where do I think? Oh, I know where peace comes from.
Okay.
I know. I mean, I think the Bible teaches it best. Jesus said something. He said, "The peace I give, not like the world gives." I think it's found in the book of John. So, the peace that people really need, which I think is the lasting peace, comes from knowing God. Not just God, but having a connection with faith in Christ Jesus. And I think that's what many people miss. I found that, and I think it works. I've lived that life for some years now, and I think it's a true word that Jesus spoke. So that's where peace comes from.
Some of those answers about where peace can be found are really interesting, aren't they? Lots of people talked about external ways to find peace, like in the trees or in the ocean, in friends or family, in watching sport and relaxing. Although how anyone could find peace watching England play football is beyond me. It's always far too stressful. But I reckon a lot of people in Cornwall would give a lot of the same answers. The strange thing is that many of those same people also said that peace is found within themselves. Like somehow you can come to a point where if you look hard enough, there's some peace somewhere inside you that you'll find somehow. I wonder what your response to that question would be. How do you find peace? I guess all of that throws up the question again about what peace really is, because a lot of the things that those people talked about, they might bring a calmness or relaxation in life, but is that really what peace is? The guy at the very end of the video talked about finding a different kind of peace in Jesus. In fact, he quoted a verse from the Bible. It's something that Jesus says in John chapter 14, verse 27. "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid." So Jesus promises that you can have a peace that is different from anything else that you'll find around you or from within inside you. Because he promises that you can have peace with God, that you can know forgiveness from God, that you can come to know God as your Father. And it's only through having faith in Jesus that you can find this peace. Here's Meg from our church talking a bit about this and about how she's found lasting peace in Jesus. And after Meg, Grace and Noah have recorded a song for us which is called Peace, and it talks about how God stays the same even when everything around us changes, so that he's the only place where we can find true and lasting peace.
In the children's story 5 Minutes Peace by John Murphy, Mrs. Large, the elephant, needs a refuge away from her rowdy children, so she decides to have a bath. That wouldn't be what I would choose to get some peace. I would choose to walk in a garden where there were lots of roses or herbs and just to bury my face in the smell of them, and that would bring me great comfort and it'd be therapeutic. Or I might go to the donkey sanctuary, which is one of our favourite places, and just stand listening to the donkeys munching the hay, But most of all, the smell of the hay, I find that really relaxing, and it brings a sense of peace. And following the theme of my sense of smell, I also love to go to the beach, where I always stand and close my eyes and breathe deeply and just smell that sea. Sometimes it smells like a summer holiday from my childhood. Sometimes it smells as if the wind is coming from far, far away, and the smell is coming from deep in the ocean, and it sears the inside of your nostrils. But those sorts of things are very fleeting. They don't last very long. And I have found a lasting peace by developing a relationship with Jesus. Jesus provided for me 2,000 years before I was born. He knew that I was going to need his peace. He knew that I would need peace with God, and he sacrificed his life to make that possible. So now I have not only forgiveness for my sins here on earth, but I know that I have a place waiting for me in heaven where I'll spend eternity with God. And if you're someone who's maybe never found that true peace, or once had it and has just drifted away and no longer feel totally peaceful, maybe today will be a good day to come back to that place. You can only find that peace through the cross of Jesus. How can I find peace within? Lead me to the cross of Jesus, says a song by Graham Kendrick from about 30 years ago, and it has a lot of truth in it. So if you want true, lasting, deep peace, come to the cross of Jesus. It's all ready for you.
You will stay true, even when the lights come. Word remains true, even when my thoughts don't lie.
Meg spoke there about the smell of the sea, and I think in Cornwall most of us would have the sea quite high up our list of places where we feel peaceful. But we also know the sea isn't always peaceful. I live 100 metres away from the Prom in Penzance, and in 2014 we had those massive storms which ripped up the concrete and caused such damage all along the seafront. These are some photos I took on Morab Road on one of those days near my house, looking out towards the Prom. And the sea can be anything but peaceful sometimes. Jesus used a moment like this to show his followers how he'd come to bring peace. There was this one time they went out on a boat with his close friends, and some of those close friends had been fishermen before they started to follow Jesus. So they were very experienced on the water. But on this occasion, things got a bit scary for them. Let me read to you how it's recorded by a man called Mark, who wrote one of the Gospels in the New Testament. I want you to remember that this is a true story. This really happened in history. That day, when evening came, he said to his disciples, "Let us go over to the other side." Leaving the crowd behind, they took him along just as he was in the boat. There were also other boats with them. A furious squall came up, and the waves broke over the boat, so that it was nearly swamped. Jesus was in the stern, sleeping on a cushion. The disciples woke him and said to him, "Teacher, don't you care if we drown?" He got up, rebuked the wind, and said to the waves, "Quiet, be still." Then the wind died down, and it was completely calm. He said to his disciples, "Why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith?" They were terrified and asked each other, "Who is this? Even the wind and the waves obey him." Wow, that was Jesus speaking to a sea storm and telling it to be quiet, to be at peace. And it did what he told it to do. When I think back to some of the storms that I've seen, that's incredible. There's a fantastic children's version of the Bible called the Jesus Storybook Bible, which retells these events. And I'd like to read it to you now with some of the pictures on screen from the book, because the language it uses is so descriptive. So, if you're sitting comfortably, I'll begin. The sun was going down. The air was warm and still. "Let's go across the lake," Jesus said to his friends. Jesus had been helping people all day, and now he was tired. So they left the crowds at the shore and set out in a small fishing boat. Jesus climbed into the boat to take a nap. As soon as his head touched the pillow, he fell fast asleep. It was a beautiful evening. A gentle breeze rustled the sails. The friends were chatting happily as they headed out into the middle of the lake. Everything was perfect, just right for a nice, quiet sail. They were only about halfway across when out of nowhere, whirling winds swept across the lake, fierce and strong, like a hurricane. A blinding flash of lightning lit up the sky. Thunder roared right overhead. The storm blew the water into towering waves that hurled the little boat up, 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 then sent it hurtling, crashing back down, down, down. The fishing boat was blown and buffeted and tossed and turned, back and forth and up and down and left and right and round and round. And in the middle of the storm, Jesus was sleeping. Now, Jesus' friends had been fishermen all their lives, but in all their years fishing on this lake, they had never once seen a storm like this one. No matter how hard they struggled with their ropes and sails, they couldn't control their boat. This storm was too big for them. But the storm wasn't too big for Jesus. "Help!" they screamed. "Wake up! Quick! Jesus!" Jesus opened his eyes. "Rescue us! Save us!" they shrieked. "Don't you care?" Of course Jesus cared. And this was the very reason he'd come, to rescue them and to save them. Jesus stood up and spoke to the storm. "Hush," he said. "That's all." And the strangest thing happened. The wind and the waves recognized Jesus' voice. They'd heard it before, of course. It was the same voice that made them in the very beginning. They listened to Jesus, and they did what he said. Immediately the wind stopped. The water calmed down. It glittered innocently in the moonlight and lapped quietly against the side of the boat, as if nothing had happened. The little boat bobbed gently up and down. There was a deep stillness and a great quiet all around. Then Jesus turned to his wind-torn friends. "Why were you scared?" he asked. "Did you forget who I am? Did you believe your fears instead of me?" Jesus' friends were quiet as the wind and the waves, and into their hearts came a different kind of storm. "What kind of man is this?" they asked themselves anxiously. "Even the winds and the waves obey him," they said, because they didn't understand. They didn't realize yet that Jesus was the Son of God. Jesus' friends had been so afraid they'd only seen the big waves. They'd forgotten that if Jesus was with them, then they had nothing to be afraid of, no matter how small their boat or how big the storm. Jesus had such peace that he was able to sleep during the storm. And when the panic finally got too much for the guys that were with him and they woke him up, he just told the storm to stop raging and to be at peace. I wonder whether for some of you watching this today, your life is like that storm and it's raging around you and you can't find any peace despite looking for it in all sorts of places. And maybe you do look for it in nature, in friends, in family, in sport, all those things that were mentioned earlier on. You look for it everywhere, and yet still something is raging within you. You know it's there. You know that you don't have this peace that you're searching for. I want to tell you today that the only place that you'll find true peace is in Jesus. Because the peace that you and I are searching for in our lives, it's not really about circumstances. It's something much deeper than that. And it can only come from God. And it only comes from knowing that you're safe and secure in his hands forever. The same Jesus who spoke to that storm that day and to those waves can also speak to your life and to my life and bring us peace. Now, he won't necessarily remove all conflict or protect us from all troubles. He doesn't promise he'll do that. But he does promise that he'll give us peace with God. In fact, just after he died and risen again, that was the first thing that he said to his disciples. You can imagine how sort of churned up they were after all those events. And they lock themselves away in a room, and Jesus comes to them and visits them, and he says twice, "Peace be with you." Maybe in the midst of all that's gone on over the last year or so, that's what you need to hear today. Those words of Jesus saying, "Peace be with you." Earlier this year, Ed and Liz from our church recorded a song called "Turn Your Eyes Upon Jesus." It's a beautiful old song with some old extra words added to it. It speaks about how we'll only find an answer to all the turmoil of life by turning our eyes towards Jesus. One of the lines says this: "Turn your eyes upon Jesus, look full in his wonderful face, and the things of earth will grow strangely dim in the light of his wonder and grace." I wonder today whether you would look full in the face of Jesus and receive his grace and find true peace in him.
Turn your eyes upon Jesus, look full in his wonderful face, and the things of earth will grow strangely dim in the light of his glory
justice and mercy embraced. There the Son of God gave his life for us, and our measureless debt was erased. Jesus, to you we lift our eyes. Jesus, our glory and our prize. We adore you, behold you, our Savior ever true. Oh Jesus, we turn our eyes to you. Turn your eyes to the morning and see Christ the Lion awake. What a glorious dawn, fear of death is gone, for we carry his life in our veins. Jesus, to you we lift our eyes. Jesus, our glory and our prize. We adore you, behold you, our Savior ever true. Oh Jesus, we turn our eyes to you. Turn your eyes to the heavens. Our King will return for his own. Every knee will bow, every tongue will shout, all glory to Jesus alone. Jesus, to you we lift our eyes. Jesus, our glory and our prize. We adore you, behold you, our Savior ever true. Oh Jesus, we turn our eyes to you. Jesus, to you we lift our eyes. Jesus, our glory and our prize. We adore you, behold you, our Savior ever true. Oh Jesus, we turn our eyes to you. Oh Jesus, we turn our eyes to you.
Jesus gave his life on the cross and died in order that you and I might be saved, in order that you and I might know peace with God, a peace that lasts forever. I'm going to lead us in a prayer now, and if you'd like to know this peace with God that we've been talking about today, why don't you pray along with me? You can pray out loud where you are, you can pray in your head and your heart, because God knows, God hears you, and the words will be on screen to help you as well. Dear Father, thank you that Jesus came to the earth and died to save me. Thank you for the cross. I ask you now to forgive me of my sin. I'm putting you first in my life and following you forever, Jesus. Thank you that you accept me as I am because of who Jesus is. Amen.
Come, Lord, through the fire and through the flame, but we wear not overwhelmed. We have known grace upon grace. You have shown love, unfailing love. We believe the grace that brought us safe this far is the grace that will lead us home. When we consider the stars above, and yet we're called by name. We're lost in wonder, we're lost in love, and our hearts are overwhelmed. We have known grace upon grace. You have shown love, unfailing love. And we believe the grace that brought us safe this far is the grace that will lead us home. Father, Father, we will thank you for your grace. We thank you for your grace. Lost in wonder, love, and praise. We thank you. Father, we will thank you for your grace. Yes, we will. We thank you for your grace. Lost in wonder, love, and praise. We thank you. And one day heaven, no greater joy, no greater grace than this. For we shall see you just as you are, and how much you paid for us. Yes, we have known grace upon grace. You have shown love, unfailing love. We believe the grace that brought us safe this far is the grace that will lead us. It's your grace that will lead us home. It's your grace that will lead us home. It's your grace, oh God, your amazing grace, your mercy and your grace over us, oh God. We thank you. We thank you for your grace that brought us here, that keeps us, that tends us. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Jesus.
If you've prayed that prayer for the first time today, or if you'd like to know more about this peace that we've been speaking about, then we'd love to hear from you here at Discovery Church. Why don't you private message us on Facebook, or you can contact us through our website, which is discoverychurch.org.uk. Or perhaps you have a friend or family member who's a Christian, and maybe they invited you today to watch this service. Why don't you have a chat to them about it? I'm sure they'd love to tell you more about Jesus and about the peace that he brings. Well, thanks so much for being with us here today at Discovery Church. Our prayer is that everyone watching today will come to know the peace in God that only Jesus can give. We hope that you'll be able to Join us again soon. Bye-bye.